I now call the meeting to order for the Greater Peoria Mass Transit District for our June 9th board meeting. Take a roll call.
Yes. Chairman Hare.
Here.
Trustee Knox.
Present.
Trustee Sterling Polk.
Present.
Trustee Ahart.
Present.
Trustee Morse, present.
We'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Okay, in regard to the previous month's minutes, are there any comments or anything? If not, could I get a motion to approve the minutes?
Make motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second. Okay, thank you. So we don't have the minutes yet for the executive session from last month. Those will be next month as Bill is preparing those. Do we have any communications?
None.
Okay. Are there any officer reports or trustee reports?
No, sir.
None? Okay. Any standing committee reports? Okay, none. All right, that leads us to the manager, General Manager Kofi presentation. Thank you.
Good afternoon. So for our report this month, I have 3 areas that I'm going to provide a report on. So the first one is the time point adjustments. We got this in place. We started on June 1st, and it's ongoing at this point. We've not had any major complaints. It impacted 9 of our current routes. What this time point adjustment is doing or are meant to do is we had certain routes that had more time than those routes needed. And at the same time, we had some routes that had less time than needed. This adjustment took care of that. It's helping or going to help with improved on-time performance. And at the same time, it's going to help with customer satisfaction. Customer satisfaction, very important, because until this changes, those routes that had more time than required would pull off at certain parts or points of their route just to make up for the time they had that they didn't need. So that's one example of how making sure that the times correspond with what is needed helps with customer satisfaction. We are monitoring this. This was put in effect June 1st. We're monitoring it through our complaint system and also calls that come in and also feedback to the drivers who are on the road. So at this point, we've not received any major issues, so no setbacks. It's going as planned. I put up this content page to the budget book you have in front of you. So the FY26 budget will be taken care of by our finance director, Carlene. And for this year, we have the budget book, which is in front of you. But we also have a summary of the budget book in PowerPoint format that Carlene will be presenting on. The budget book, I think, is about 40-something pages. the PowerPoint presentation that Carlene will be presenting. I think it's about 15 or 16 slides, but that summarizes what we have in the budget book. The budget book provides a detailed and in-depth analysis of our FY26 budget. But as Carlene presents the budget, she would explain what needs to be explained. And so that's it for the budget book and what Carlene will be doing. Now, for FY26, in the budget book and what Carlene will be presenting, we have prioritized, I think, about 5 areas that we'll be concentrating on. I think the first one has to do with maximizing value for riders and taxpayers. The second one is to ensure stable funding for operations. That is very important. So as we look at the budget we're presenting now, we're looking at years ahead, how sustainable it is. So that is what the second point will be taking care of. We also looking at identifying new funding opportunities. So that is also key. It's very important that we look out to see what's out there in terms of funding opportunities and take advantage of those appropriately. Another area that we're going to emphasize on is maintaining safe, clean, and reliable services. Safety is the key here, but clean, reliable, also very important because they all go hand in hand. So that goes back to the training we provide to our operators and customer service as a whole. Finally, we're also looking at exploring service expansion opportunities. Some of this conversation has already started where the state, for instance, is looking at this transit service from the Bloomington area to Peoria, going through towns like Woodfield, Morton, and others. So that is an ongoing conversation. The state has put out, I think, about $2 million for a feasibility study. So these are areas that we would definitely play a very big role in when it comes to fruition. So I think that's all I have for GM report. Any questions, please?
No, I don't have any. So, next on the agenda, do you have the agenda on the screen? Or Chris? Chris? Oh, do you have the agenda on the one page?
Oh,
You want me to pull the agenda up for you?
Yeah, if you don't mind. Sorry. Okay. All right, thank you. Approval of the org chart, Kofi?
so we've made some updates to our org chart, and because of that, I hereby request the board's approval of the updated org chart.
Can you outline any changes to the previous?
So my current position as the GM is one of the changes we have on there.
Okay.
And payroll, we have new hires, one new hire in payroll.
Are there any questions about the updated org chart?
I move we accept as presented.
Second.
Second? Okay. The motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we'll have operations update from Ken.
Evening. let's start out with some really good numbers here. This year alone, May, we are actually at 179.22. The May from the previous year was 162.02, which actually gave us a percentage of 3.68% increase. So as long as we're moving up, we're doing great. We're gonna break down a little bit more for you for the Sunny Land ICC, which is, let's just consider our East Peoria route. May of last year was 17,752. May of this year is 21,047, which actually counts for an increase of 18.56%. So those are going to continue to go here because of what's happening with ICC and a few other job markets on the other side of the river. The peaking routes, it didn't show as much of an increase. May of last year was 95.14. This year is 99.47, an increase of right at 5%. So we're doing good as long as we keep the numbers going up. I know Pekin eventually is going to request more service, but we'll have to sit down and go through that. So accidents this time around, one preventable accident due to inadequate spacing. That person was coached and retrained to make sure it doesn't happen too many more times. So other than that, quick rundown. Questions?
I appreciate your report, and thanks for the breakdown with Pekin and ICC. That's kind of helpful. Thank you. Report of paratransit GM Angel. Okay, this is an Angel.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
All right, so you have the current report that was sent out by the GM, but I'm gonna add a little bit extra to it. We just had 3 graduates for our classroom that just graduated Friday. We have another 3 that's gonna graduate probably this coming Monday or Tuesday. So on top of that number, with the operations that's going on now, that helps our on-time performance considerably. We found our magic number. Our magic number is somewhere in the area of about 34th to 40, and I think we're about there. So other than that, I have not much more, unless you have questions.
Any questions?
No questions?
No.
This was too easy.
Thank you very much.
This time.
Yeah, this one.
Yeah. All right, we'll get back to Brad here, and sorry about that. Project updates from
Lance, come back.
intro.
Good evening.
We got a few updates for you on our current projects. As it sits right now, we have 6 buses completed. I did receive an update on this one today. We will have the 7th one back on site tomorrow. So 2218 will be here tomorrow, and 2222 will go up for its refurbishment. Again, on the plan, the overall plan has not changed. We're still moving in that direction. Support vehicles, we did finally receive all 4 of those support vehicles. They are on site. We're working to get the decals put on, and we'll have them out on the road. We also received some paratransit vehicles for Transdev. We received 5 vehicles through the CVP program, and then we actually have 3 more that we purchased that'll be in middle of the month. So those will be ready for us. They were all ready for pickup, then they had a little problem with a door switch that caused the vehicles to be not safe, so they had to go ahead and make that repair before we could bring them back. Then once we finish up with the actual install of all the software and hardware, then we'll be good. Those will be ready to hand over. Down at the transit center, we did complete the project to update the cameras, security systems, and access control. Those are up and running and seem to be doing a lot better. We did add a panic button upstairs for the lady that sits up there that does all the passes. So she feels a lot better, and we all feel a lot better. She feels safe. It's pretty much the end of the presentation. Do you guys have any questions for me?
I don't have a question, but just a statement. I started coming in the same entrance that the buses do, and the overall appearance of how our property looks as opposed to how it looked before is astonishing. It's beautiful. You guys are doing a great job keeping it up, and our buses and everything are starting to look so much better. So just know that it's noticed and very much appreciated. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Our staff, our utility staff is doing a very nice job keeping up because they do have a lot more maintenance and grass and shrubs and all of that stuff. So they've been doing a really nice job keeping up with everything.
They have.
Thank
Thank you.
you all.
Thanks, Frank.
Thank you. Next, are there any public comments that we want to? Okay. Any old business to cover? No. New business, we have the appointment of the Assistant General Manager and compensation. Kofi, do you want to talk about that, or do you want me to just announce it? Okay. Yeah, so basically, Brad Siltman will become our new Assistant General Manager. The interim title has been removed, so I want to congratulate him on that. Yeah. And, the board is gonna talk about the compensation, and that will be discussed by the board in private, so to speak. So the next item on the new business is the public hearing and budget presentation for the budget and appropriation ordinance for the 12-month fiscal year ending June 2026. Carlene?
I think
Yeah.
you should have a motion to open the public hearing and to start that process. Seconded and voted, and then go into the public hearing itself.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. So we'll
All
go into,
those in favor?
all those in
Aye.
favor,
Aye.
say aye. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome,
Okay, thank you.
board members, and this is our annual meeting to present our Greater Peoria Mass Transit District fiscal year 26 budget. I do have copies of the budget and appropriation ordinance in the back if any members of the public would welcome to that. So this is our overview. The board has received a detailed analysis of the budget, and I will be going over the budget as a summary. The executive summary and our strategic goals, Kofi did discuss our strategic priorities. They're the same, but I will not go over them again. Our annual ridership is 1,816,403 on our fixed route passengers, and our paratransit passengers are 90,873. So this is our fiscal year 26 budget overview. Our total operating expenses for the year, for fiscal year, is $43.8 million, which actually is $43,773,591. Our total operating expenses that are projected are $46.4 million revenues. The operating expenses is a 7% year-over-year budget increase. In addition to our budget and appropriate ordinance, we have a $12 million capital budget. Now this explains the operating expenses by category. And this is broken down as you can see in our labor costs, fringe benefits, service costs, material supplies, miscellaneous, casualty and liabilities, and contingencies. Of this broken down, the highest percentage by the total happens to be labor costs. And this is at 31.7% of the total operating costs. Another large portion of our budget is our fringe benefits, and this is 29.6% of our current budget. So what are some of the key drivers? If I'm looking at this, we do have union wage increases. We had year one of our negotiation of the new union contract. In year one, we have 4.9% increase of the payroll. Our health insurance went up 20%. In addition, we have increased security services and the inflationary impacts in all materials. All these combined together are increasing our total operating budget. This is an example of our budget and appropriation ordinance. As you can see, as I discussed, it's broken down into our operating and capital. As you mentioned, I mentioned it's 43.7, 43.8, and our projected capital expenditures for the year are $12,040,500. This gives us a total operating capital of $55,814,091. So let's go look at labor and benefits. As you can see, from 2024 forecast to 25 to our 26 proposed plan, you do see it increasing. On the other hand, let's look at our fringe benefits comparison. Year over year, our dental and division remain flat, as well as you look at our fringe benefits, which is the medical, you can see that from the graph, it is gradually going up. So here's a more detailed. Our labor expense is 7% increase from fiscal year 2025. As I mentioned earlier, our union contract is 4.9% with the wage increase. And we have open positions for operation efficiency that will be filled in fiscal year 26. And our performance merit for non-union staff is between 1 to 5%. What's causing our benefit cost increase? Well, of course, it's 20% increase, but in our budget is now $6.4 million for our medical. As you can see, is our dental and vision are always a 5% increase year over year, but the higher claims cost, it is what is driving all of our increases in our medical insurance. Let's go into materials and fuel costs. Materials are $4.8 million, that is our budget. So it's a 7% increase from fiscal year 25 budget. Once again, it's the inflationary pressure on our parts and goods, proposed tariff impacts on our imported components, our fleet maintenance costs are increasing, and we have expired warranties on the majority of our fleet. Let's talk about fuel expenses. We're projected at $1.79 million. This is 32% increase from fiscal year 25 actual. Causes for this are the volatile diesel pricing due to our geopolitical factors, our constrained supply, and high global demand. And what we budgeted conservatively for the price fluctuations, as you will be able to see in the next slide. As you can see, from fiscal year to 25, we had a decrease in our material expenses, and we went slightly upward for that. And that is majority of the reason for that, as I mentioned, causes by the tariff fluctuation and increased a lot of the prices. Now, this is a very interesting slide. You can see that 22, 23, 24, and part of 25 are all of our actual costs. But we projected a $1.79 million in our budget due to the fact of the geopolitical constraints and drivers on our fuel expenses. This is also an interesting slide. It's our security expenses and our workers' compensation claims, and these are one of the major drivers that are causing an increase. Let's look at security expenses. As you can see in blue, that's a budget for 2024, and we expended $317,612. Let's go for this year. $294,000 was our budget. We expended $486,000. So conservatively, we budgeted the security expenses at $439,000. Let's look at working comp. In 24 and 25, respectively with 700 and 800,000, but yet the expenditures in '24 was 2,460,880. If we go to '25, the actual to date is 1,610,27. Well, this tells me that we did not budget correctly for the previous years. So conservatively, we increased our budget to 1.8 million. Any questions so far? Now let's talk about our revenue sources. We have four main types of our revenue sources. We have system generated, our local funding, state operating, and our federal funds. As you can look at this year over year, we are increasing our revenue. The federal funds this year are 8.8 million, higher than the previous year in '25. The reason for that is we have $5.3 million left in our American Rescue Plan. These are the COVID plans, so we have those funds to spend. The majority of our funding comes from the state operating funding, and that's at 60% of the total of our revenue sources. As you go a comparison of our revenue sources, you can see system generated flat. Local funding is our tax revenue, our tax levy, excuse me, and that increases 5%. State operating, you also can see that it's gradually going up. And the federal funds, you can always see, just for fiscal year '24, it has increased due to the ARP funds. The next slide shows a percentage of all of these type of revenue sources to our revenue budget. The common theme of this is that the majority of the percentages happen to be with our state operating. And once again, you can see the system generated is flat and so forth. So what I did with this slide in this analysis, I took out the system generated revenue, which I will discuss in a different slide. So tax levy and our replacement tax are our local funding. The tax levy is the CityLink's request for local funding, and this increases annually by 5%. It does represent 15% of our budget if you take out the system generated. Operating assistance, we have been awarded $27.5 million from IDOT, the Department of Transportation, and this contributes to 65% of our total budget. And the federal operating accounts account for 12% of our total budget. As you can see, we have our federal funds, our federal operating assistance, and our federal preventative maintenance. Our ARP funds, the American Rescue Plan funds, will be exhausted in 2026. Let's talk about our 26 revenue sources. This is our system generated. And the system generated is what we have a little bit of control over. That is our fare and pass sales, our advertising income, interest income, and our bus services that we receive from our local areas. We estimate a 12% fare box revenue growth. Of all of these system-generated funds, the majority of the funds, or 47.1%, come from our fare box and pass sales. So as fiscal year '26, we have a revenue target plan of $687,500. And this is another way of looking at this, our fare box revenue. I have actuals from 20 to 24, and you can see it slowly progressing up. We projected for 2025, it's just our estimate right now because we haven't closed the books for this fiscal year, and that's at 613,000. So based on all of our analysis, we believe that our budget for our operating expenses or revenue would be 687,000. Although our system-generated funds remain stable, however, our dependency on our external funding. External funding is our local funding, our state funding, as well as our federal funding. We have increased that 15%. So what this is saying is, I believe that our system-generated revenue although it remains stable, we have to find ways to increase that type of revenue. And this is a trend of a ridership, as you probably have seen this slide before. And we do have continued recovery throughout the fiscal year 25 and 26. So let's look at our capital investments. These major capital investments includes all those that are our projected capital and what we are going to do forward throughout the year. The $38.4 million administrative maintenance facility, those funds are exhausted as of fiscal year 26 and beginning of fiscal year 25. Where do we get some of our funding sources? State capital is 56.3, FTA capital funds, 1.95, local, about $1 million, and our transportation development credit is $487. Yeah. What are some of the challenges we are facing? Well, as I mentioned, our federal art funding expires in fiscal year 26. What are we going to do to make up those funds? We have rising health costs of 20%. This is going to continue to increase year over year. Our fuel price, as we discussed, volatility and supply constraints. We have an aging fleet, and that causes increase in maintenance costs and low fare box recovery ratio at 6.7%. What that means is that the revenue of the fare box to the total system generated costs, which means our fare box revenue cannot really compensate for all of the costs associated with our remaining system generated income. What are some of the initiatives? We want to do some sustainable funding strategy development, which Kofi has touched on. Enhanced security services at our transit center. Our operation efficiency improvements. Our fleet modernization with our hybrid low emission buses, and our new facility operational readiness. Do you have any questions from the board?
Questions? No, I think so. Thank you.
Okay. Our budget adoption enables our continued provision of the safe, efficient, and reliable transportation services to Peoria and the Tazewell counties. So I'm presenting the budget and appropriation ordinance for the fiscal year 2026. This budget ordinance itemizes the estimated annual expenditures in compliance with the provisions set forth in Section 3 of the Illinois Municipal Budget Law, Chapter 50, Illinois Compiled Statutes, Section 33001. There's no procurement impact. The financial impact. This budget will allow the district to operate for the coming year with an operating plan and capital budget totaling $55,814,814.91, which includes $43,773,591 for the appropriate amounts for the operating expenses and $12,045,000 for the appropriated amount for capital. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees approve the above ordinance.
Just the last name.
Yes.
Explain the procedure. All right. Now you need, we're still in the public hearing. Now you need to call if any of the public want to make any comments on the existing budget. Okay. If no one wants to appear, we'll get to that in a second. Then we need a motion to close the public hearing and a vote on that motion. And then we'll go back to the issue of adopting the budget. We will need a motion in a second, and then we will need a roll call vote on the budget itself. So that's a sequencing.
Okay. So are there any comments from the public regarding the budget that was presented? Okay. Hearing none, then.
I'll move we close the public meeting.
Okay. Second. Okay.
those in
So
favor?
all those in favor of
Aye.
public meeting, say aye. Thank you. So then we'll take a roll call vote to,
Motion to adopt the budget, a second, and then a roll call vote.
do I have a motion to adopt the budget then?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. We'll take a roll call vote. Secretary, you wanna
Okay.
do the roll call?
Chairman Hare,
I approve.
Trustee Knox,
Approve.
Trustee Sterling Polk,
Approved.
Trustee Ahart,
Approve.
and Trustee Morse, approved.
So motion carries. Thank you.
And then we need everyone to sign off on this. I will get the two
Okay.
names here. I just start with you top here, and we'll pass around and get the signatures on that.
Okay.
Oh, Chris, you sign last. Sir.
So move to the financial report then. So Carleen,
All right, thank you.
thank you.
Hello again. The purpose of our financial report for May is to summarize the May 2025 financial activities by operating and capital, and we're seeking approval of the payment of these invoices that have been submitted. This financial report provides a monthly summary of our financial activities, details our cash account balances by individual account, and lists the operating fund check activity. And the presented totals represent monthly activity and do not include our depreciation. And these reflect our total payroll costs, and payroll amounts are included, as well as our tax amounts are paid. In May 2025, the total monthly operating expenditures of $2,262,646 represent 5.6% of the fiscal year 2025 annual budget. The total monthly operating expenses are 33% less than the monthly projection. I recommend approval of the board of these requested disbursements.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the
Motion, Mr. Chair.
Second.
okay, roll call vote?
We need to all in favor on that or no?
Sorry.
Roll call.
Roll call. Very good, okay. Okay, roll call. Chairman Hare,
Approve.
Trustee Knox,
Approve.
Trustee Sterling Polk,
Approved.
Trustee Ahart,
Approve.
Trustee Morse, approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Carly. Are there any other comments or questions on the board? So, this would adjourn our meeting.